If your computer turns on but nothing shows up on your monitor, don't panic. You don't need to open up your computer. You don't need to start guessing what's wrong. There's a simple process you can follow to figure out what's wrong. So, first thing we need to do is detail what's actually happening. So, we're going to start asking some questions. Is your PC actually powering on? Are your fans spinning? Do you see lights to show that your computer is on? What exactly is your monitor doing? Is it completely black or does it say no signal? Does it have some kind of message on it? When was the last time that the monitor actually worked? Was it yesterday or was it a month ago? Has your computer recently updated? Your answers to these questions are going to tell you where to start in the troubleshooting process. If your screen shows absolutely nothing when you first plug it in, it's just a blank black screen, start with step one of this process. Otherwise, you can jump to step two. If you know that your computer recently updated, a driver issue becomes the most likely problem, making step four the most likely fix. And so you might want to jump ahead to step four. With that being said, let's jump into the troubleshooting process for this monitor. So, step one, make sure that the monitor actually has power going to it. So look for a light or indicator showing it has power. And typically this is in the bottom right-hand corner of the monitor. If it's not plugged in or turned off, that's your problem. You got to make sure it's turned on. So make sure that the power cable is plugged in all the way to your monitor and that the other end's going into an outlet. And press the power button until that light comes on, showing that the monitor has got power. Moving on to step two, check your cable connections. Make sure your video or display cable is fully plugged in on both the computer and the monitor. If it already looks like it is plugged in, unplug it and plug it back in just to verify that it's good. If there's still no signal, verify that the display cable isn't a problem. There isn't a problem with the cable itself. And so to do this, you're going to need a spare cable. And so assuming that you've got one lying around, swap the original cable out for the new one. If it still doesn't work, well, now you know that it's not a cable issue. You've eliminated another thing. Now, before we get to the next step, if you find yourself struggling on the help desk, I've got something for you. Maybe you just started and you feel like you're floundering because you don't know how to troubleshoot, or perhaps you feel like you'll never know enough to move up the ladder. The issue isn't that you don't have enough knowledge. You were just never given a process. My free guide gives you 5 steps to how to confidently handle every help desk call that comes in, even when you don't know the answer. Visit moveintotech.com to get access and finally look like you know what you're doing on the help desk. Now, on to step three. Check your monitor's input source. Typically, there's a button in the lower right corner near the power button on your monitor to enter the monitor settings. So you want to find that, and once open, look around until you find the input source settings. Make sure that it's set to the correct input. So if you are using an HDMI cable, make sure it's actually set to read from the HDMI port. If it's on auto right now, try changing it to the correct manual source. To know which source to set it to, it's helpful to know the name of the display cable you're using. And so here's a picture of the most common display cables if you're unsure of what you're using right now. Some common ones include HDMI cables, VGA cables, and DisplayPort cables, but there are many others. Step four, try reinstalling your computer's display drivers. To do this, start by going to your bottom search bar and we're going to type device. We want to open up our device manager. So we can click on this first option here. And once this loads, we are looking for the display adapters category. Let's expand that. Here is the display adapter that I currently have installed on my machine, my display driver. So we are going to right click on this and we want to uninstall the driver and then we're going to reboot our computer and it's going to automatically reinstall that driver. So I'll go uninstall. We would click on this here. Note that this might make your screen black if you're using a laptop. This might make your laptop screen black, so make sure that you have everything closed out before you click on this uninstall button. So you would click uninstall, reboot your computer, it would automatically reinstall the driver, and you would most likely be good to go. This fixes the issue in most cases. In the rare scenario where reinstalling the same driver doesn't fix the issue, you can try completely deleting the driver software from your computer and then re-downloading the driver from online. So to do this, if we open up our device manager again, like we had before, and we act like we're going to uninstall that driver again, except this time around, we could completely remove the driver software from the computer. And so once you rebooted the machine, it would no longer have that driver to reinstall. And so it would boot back up using a default driver that would not let your monitor work, most likely, in which case you would want to go out and actually grab that driver from online. And so in order to figure out what driver you need, you've got a couple options. If you know what brand your machine is, you could just go to their support website. So for example, if you had a Dell machine, you could go to dell.com/support and navigate to the driver section of their website and find your specific model of machine. If you don't know what model computer you have, or you have a custom built PC or something like that, we could come into our system information here. And this is actually going to tell us what kind of motherboard we have. And so in this case, we have our system manufacturer is Innotech, and we are looking for our baseboard manufacturer. In this case, it's Oracle because I'm using a VM. In your case, your baseboard or your motherboard would register to HP or to Asus or something like that. Uh, in which case, you would Google the drivers for that specific motherboard. You would look specifically for a display or video driver and then download that driver. Once you've got it downloaded, you could then go in and typically they've just got an exe file that you can run to install that driver again. You'll probably have to reboot after that, but then once you're rebooted, you should be good to go with the reinstalled driver. Your monitor should once again be working successfully. That's the full process. These troubleshooting steps will solve 95% of display problems that you'll run into. So with that, hopefully that solved your problem. If you want more walkthroughs like this and my free guide, 5 steps to handling help desk calls with confidence, follow the link in the description below.